because I attribute a lot of things in the boys developing on the combination of technology that they've used, technology they've experienced, real world things that they experienced, and the parenting that they've had. I feel like they are at a higher reading level because of, and then now that I hear Judy's story, I'm like, yes, her grandson can do math in his head because of cartoons he watches and the strategies that they use to teach these skills. I just feel like that's a thing. Like, why does everybody instantly say technology isn't bad when we should be focusing on the thing when technology is bad, when we
but
should
yet,
be
Tonya,
focusing on the making of that?
You sent your kids to a school that limits technology use very severely in their younger years. Yeah, you selected teachers that basically didn't let the kids touch devices.
But their technology was different.
But
There's people that would think I'm crazy for sending my kids to a Montessori school because of the tactile devices, that the way that they teach math and the way that they teach writing and reading, and it's all, this confounded crazy way of teaching kids, and like we even try to do some of the strategies over at one of the districts that I'm at every week. And the media specialist, she's like, I wish they did more Montessori techniques. Again, it's an instructional strategy, and it is a technology. So when you're talking about things, that's a technology. It's not a device. And when they go to upper elementary at Montessori, they have a device in their hand. I don't think it's all day. When they
and Montessori, again, they definitely have shifted over, especially the last few years, into no device ever. Right. And into a recognition that devices and screen time are a part of our lives. Let's learn to use it appropriately.
Yeah, and I think, does your grandson, Judy, have any kind of preschool or anything that he goes to? Any of your
they both went to a preschool. And so they had a lot of instruction there. But I asked my grandson that was 6, how are you so good at math? And he goes, I like number blocks. And so, I knew that, and then when I saw it online, that was one of the recommended.
Which is basically a TV show or cartoon that teaches math skills, right?
Right. Like, like do math in tens, these units of 10 and, if you're adding 26 and 36, you do 20 and 30, and then you add the other numbers to that.
Kind of like PBS Cyber Chase or the Sesame Street, back to, learn to count, all those. Yeah, they certainly can be valuable. They absolutely, there's value in using the technology to help people learn. Look at YouTube videos. I mean, how often that you're trying to do something, whether it's, fertilize your garden or replace spark plugs in your lawnmower or anything around the house. How often do you go and say, well, let me see if I can find a YouTube video that shows me how to do that. So, the technology can be a powerful teaching tool and to help us develop life skills. But at the same time, we've got to make sure that the physical development, again, especially for adolescents, and the emotional development, a chance to interact with real people when there's immediate real life consequences to what you say. Tonya, you were mentioning about some, conversations online gaming where it can deteriorate into some really nasty areas very, very quickly. I was listening to a couple young relatives of mine, and I think my youngest relative right now is age 3 and the oldest is 30 something. But on some of the younger side, I went in. They were listening to interactions in an online game where you basically are trying to drive the cars through a city, and if you get through fast enough, you get points and you get to blow up the other team, kind of thing. And there was some incredibly nasty discussions going on, and oh gosh, showing my ignorance here, that I forget what the not spam talk. What's that word that they use? Where you say bad things about the other team. But I mean, that's something, if your coach on the football team hears, you say, hey, I don't want to hear you talking about the other team that way. But when you're in these online things, there's nobody right there, or too often, there's not a parent or a guardian, or there's not somebody there to say, look, we don't talk about the other players like that. We play hard, we play to win, but we don't use that kind of language about anybody else. And that's what's missing.
I think the games are trying to do that. And I should bring Owen in here to talk about it a little bit, because he said that there is a process that you report toxicity. So they're implementing, the developers are implementing some things to be able to do it, but also they're putting the power in the hands of the players, where if someone's, and they said toxicity is defined, and because I said, how did they define toxicity? And they said racism, name calling, and cursing. And so then they will, somehow the boys understand that if someone's doing this, that you report them in this certain way.
And that's great. Yeah.
So, and they were saying, James said the other day, if it weren't for blah, blah, and blah, blah, I don't know who the people are. That's why I said I should have Owen come in and talk about it. If it weren't for this guy and this person, then guerrilla tag would be even more dangerous for us to be in it. And then, in sometimes the know-it-all kind of kid conversation, whereas that's mean, that's just terrible when someone does that. And they have this really clear definition of what being toxic is in the world. Like yesterday we paused at our TV show and I said, who's he talking to? And he was yelling. He was like, just stop talking. Just stop talking. He just kept saying, no, stop saying that. Stop saying that. Stop saying that. I said, get in there and get him out of that server, whatever it is, because I didn't like the level of, but he was standing up for himself in this way that, like I said, as technology and innovation comes about, they're learning these skills of how to survive, but there's some kids that aren't learning those skills, whereas they're allowing someone to bully them. They're allowing, we just talked about this other day in our session, Judy and I did, where, we need to get on top of AI and understand how to manage it, because evidently the social media thing, we didn't get on it soon enough, and we didn't understand the limits and the extent of what it was going to do, because there's, suicides and bullying and self-worth are a thing. Social emotional is a need now, because technology has created this environment that we just didn't know it was going to create. So those are things that should have been in the world before. We should have been taking care of each other. We should have been being kind to each other. We shouldn't have to tell people not to be mean to each other. There's always been bullies. There's always been ways of dealing with bullies, but we didn't understand that was going to go out into the world.
This is a little bit off traffic, but I think I have to bring it up when you mention bullies. One of the things that we've discovered about online bullying and other types of online harassment is, unfortunately, when you're in any type of a public forum, Facebook, Snapchat, you name it, whatever, where multiple people are looking at a thing, what we've found out is that the individual who lies the most usually is believed. Because if you say, oh, Tonya, let's see, what would be something, you like bugs, you have bugs crawling all over your house, and you do it on purpose, and you let them in. And you say, no, I don't. No, I don't. And all I have to do is say, yes, you do, Tonya. I've been to your house and I've seen where you put sugar out to attract ants. Mm-hmm. Well, the person that is saying untrue statements or partially true statements is generally believed more than the person that says, no, no, no.
Right. Well, and that is a theory, because when 8 years ago, when I started the PhD program, that was a thing, like where they said that publications were put out that were not true. Yeah. I tried to remember what it was called. And the fact that people saw that non-true, they believed it as a true, even though something came out as a not true, like that's not true. Yeah. And I get that. And it's hard to.
Now, if you're face to face with something and you challenge them, you say, no, that is not true. Well, people are much more inclined to, well, why not? And then, you can explain to them, look, we just had the exterminator out. I panic if there's a single mosquito there. I don't know what that person is saying about, I like bugs in my house, but that we know that for sure. And that's a problem with social media, is
Right.
the other people watching a
Believe it.
conversation
Yeah.
take place tend to believe the more negative statements. And that's a scary thing. Yeah.
Well, the thing, and I didn't believe this one, and it probably shouldn't bring this up if we're going to make this an episode, but to prove your point.
Well, change the names to protect the innocent.
Oh, I am. Well, I was sitting at a district talking to someone I've worked with for 3 years. And this teacher asked me, is it true that this district is allowing their students to use litter boxes in the bathroom? And I said, are you serious? Are you serious? Well, I saw it online, and so told me, and they said that they're allowing the kids to dress up in furry outfits like cats and dogs and stuff, and then they're going to the bathroom in litter boxes. And
I know this because I heard that as well.
And,
yeah.
And I literally know someone at that district that has continually had to say, this is not a thing. Also, what? Why do you believe that this is a thing? That adults who are trained educationally and professionally to manage a school would allow people to use the restroom, a litter box. It just does not make sense to me. Are we all insane? Are we losing?
And this is real. I mean, you're not making this example up. This is something
it's
that
real.
actually happened. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Last week at the school we did the session, Tonya, somebody mentioned the word catfishing, and I didn't know what it was. I had no idea. And
she
so
also
I
had the
wrote it
wrong.
down.
She also had the wrong definition of it too, because catfishing is not an AI.
No,
No, not at all.
No,
I had
and
to look it up.
Yeah, she said. So you looked it up. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So what is catfishing?
When a person takes information and images, typically from other people, and uses them to create a new identity for themselves. To me, it's like when my friend got her Facebook page scammed or faked, hacked. I guess hacked is what they're saying, is, somebody else put their picture up on there and took all her photos off. That was probably sort of like catfishing, according to what I'm reading online, but I had no idea.
Have you seen the documentary Catfishing? It's
no.
And there is a TV show, British version and American version, called Catfishing. It's when people are dating online and someone slips into their DMs and says, hey, I like you. And then they chat for a while and they send them a picture like, this is me. And, like, here's my Facebook page and here's my Instagram and here's my whatever. And it's not them. It ends up being like, they say that they're this bodybuilder, a gorgeous person, or they're this beautiful woman. And, and they create this relationship with someone. And then when the person that they're creating a relationship with says, hey, you want to meet? I'm going to move to you in Florida. I'm going to move to where you are. I'm going to come and visit you. And then when they're like, yes, come and visit me. And then they never show up because they're not the person that they say they are. They don't have the confidence to be the person they really are. So they pretend they're someone else. But you need to watch that show. It's Neve. What's his name? Neve. He was the one that formed the word catfish.
Oh, Schluman, something like that. Yeah.
Yes. Ned Schulman.
About a fake Facebook friend, basically.
Yeah. And
and that friend was catfishing to try and get him to like her.
Yeah. He's still friends with her too. But basically what he does is people send messages into him and say, I think I'm being catfished. And they tell him the whole story. And then he does all this research and the phone numbers. And he does all this research to find out who it is. And then eventually what they do is they try to get a meet up with the person. Sometimes it's the person, most of the time it is not the person. But we actually watch this quite a bit because it's interesting, because you'll sit there and I'd be like, I think they're real. I think it's a real person, or I think it's really that visual replication of that person. And then most of the time it's not, where it's just like, the person.
Well, yeah, I have to admit, I may be catfishing because my online picture is about 5 years old, and I had a little more hair, and it was a lot darker back then than
Well,
it
you know,
is
I mean,
today. So
all I could think is, why did they come up with this name? Once I found out what it really meant, because when you look up the definition, it's one of the first definition is the activity of catching catfish. Well, around here, you know, there are catfish in the rivers and the lake and so forth. And I mean, who came up with this name? I'd like to know who came up with the word for this other definition, catfishing.
I mean,
think it was
I
me.
actually have gone cat fishing for the species catfish. That's it.
Right, right. I mean,
Well, so
how did
I mean, sometimes what you put on the hook is really weird stuff. Just there's local, you know, whether it's real or not, that in particular areas you'll put something on a hook to catch the fish that's very unusual,
Yes.
and that's where I think probably
okay,
Where it
maybe
comes from.
that's
Yes.
how they came up with,
Yes.
I haven't found a thing saying how did they come up with the name, that term
I mean,
catfishing.
sometimes it's things like bacon or sausage or
Oh,
a tin
yeah.
can lid. These are all real examples.
Well, I
Yeah.
think it was Neve. I think it was Neve that came up with it. But I
Really?
could be wrong. If you watch that documentary, it's actually really good. It's a little bit longer than I thought it should have been, but it,
We'll post a link to it here at the end of this.
yeah. Yeah. So, and also we had a teacher come up to me afterwards, and say, you keep saying how AI can know that you used it. And she goes, I don't understand why you keep saying that. Like, I said, well, when you, for instance, when you're on Google search and you
Absolutely true, by the way. Yeah.
and when you put it in and you put, like, if I put catfish, automatically it comes up with Neve, because that's the most Googled thing, not just by me, by everybody in the world. So every time someone asks a question, a query, that query is saved, and an algorithm allows that to be the first thing that Google spits out. So I've used the example of the movie Wreck-It Ralph Breaks the Internet. They go into this virtual world, and he walks up to Google, is a human being, it's a person, a cartoon person, and he says, I want to know, and he's like, know how to make pancakes without oil. He's like, no, I kind of want to know a video about a cat playing with, you know, like he kept trying to guess what he was saying, but he's like, no, he goes, why won't he let me finish what I want? And that's what Google does. If I start putting in documentary, it'll tell me the most thing that's been queried through the world. And that's the same thing that AI is. AI has to learn and get smarter. So AI is continually remembering what we ask it and the results to be able to get better. That's why we do a thumbs up or a thumbs down when we use it. You know, it's asking, is this what you were asking for? And then it gets smarter as we go, but it also remembers those searches and those queries to create a database of what has been asked and what has been searched. So,
And I want to throw something out on that. We may want to do a vlog on this very topic, and that is creating your persona for AI, because it does, it learns from you. To use AI, any of the more advanced systems anyway, you have to actually be logged in as a person. And so I personally have created a totally separate Gmail account. Frankly, falsified a little bit of information about me, so it wouldn't be easy to track back and figure, you know, this is Dr. Roger Manier from NWOET. I changed my profession a little bit. I changed my geographical location a little bit. And then I build my persona. And if I start investigating some topics, and I think I already mentioned this one, but you know, I was doing some work on suicide prevention, and I was doing a lot of searches about suicide prevention and things like that. Well, the end result was I actually got a call to me from a suicide prevention center asking if I was okay. I had put in enough information that it alerted the suicide prevention center. Now, full disclosure, the suicide prevention center was one of the resources that I was looking at, and I had sent them a direct question to them using my email account. But, based on the searches and the information I was looking for, somehow, whether it was a real person or an AI, and I'm kind of guessing AI, they detected Roger was searching for suicide information. We better give him a call. Oh, look, we have enough information to contact him. So now, in this case, it was a totally harmless thing. But what if I'd been looking at, I don't know, drug addiction, or, take your topic. I mean, there, bankruptcy, and a lender discovered, I'm almost afraid to say this right now, and a lender discovered I was doing all these searches on, how to file for bankruptcy, maybe I wouldn't get my new car, even though it had nothing to do with my actual real life financial situation. So you have to be careful what questions you're asking. And I'm sure we've all experienced asking Google a question, flights to Florida, and all of a sudden you're getting ads about, hey, visit Tampa Bay and look at St. Augustine. And, you're getting all these ads from Florida-based businesses because you Googled, what's the best flights to Florida. So AI learns about you, and you may want to consider putting together a separate identity for your AI searches, so your real life is not impacted inaccurately by something that you might be studying for a master's degree paper, for example.
Right. And AI can also develop some kind of positive result based on its spying as well.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
when
It
I
could be
was
very positive.
when I was planning my trip, I went to make a purchase for a shuttle to pick us up at the Punta Cana airport and take us to the resort. And it kept it instantly when I hit buy, and I had already purchased a couple things. It came up and it said, this purchase has been declined. Please call your credit card company. We think your credit card has been stolen or whatever. And then my phone rang and someone called me right away. AI notified them that weird stuff was happening that normally doesn't happen on my credit card. And then after I had spoken to them on the phone, she said, we can push this through. Now try it. And she let me do the purchase on the phone while we were on the phone. And then I got a message like a day later that said, we realize that you will be traveling during this day to this day, and we will not allow your credit card to be shut down during that time. Now, I didn't use my credit card while I was there, weirdly, but that was nice to know, because I was like, great, and now I'm going to use my credit card when I'm there, and it's going to bring up a security thing again. But it was nice that I knew that I was safe, that it wanted to know if, and then they took me back all the way to the gas that I had bought a week ago. And they said, was this your purchase? And I said, yes, that was my purchase. And I was like, okay, I feel safe with my credit card company because they're watching me. So.
And that's a very positive thing. Now, I want to point out something I just realized right this minute that AI is doing that is creating a false impression. Look at me and see if you see anything unusual about my appearance, especially about the appearance of my body.
Oh, your arm's gone.
My arm is gone. The artificial intelligence program that is blurring and removing background distractions has taken off one of my arms. Isn't that incredible?
But if you move your arm, does it come back?
So let me see if I can. There we go. Okay, now I got an arm back again.
Well, sometimes it'll make my head go away if I move it away, but no, I also have.
So talk about not being able to believe, catfishing or whatever. Our computers are making some decisions about my appearance right this minute.
Yeah,
that is totally inaccurate. So
you guys were right about catfishing being the term because of Nev Schulman or Neve Schulman or whatever, how you say his name, because he met a woman and carried on a long relationship.
Yeah.
And then he discovered she wasn't young and single, but in her 40s and married.
Mhm.
And that was back in 2010. There was a documentary about it
Yeah.
called Catfish.
Yeah, you should watch it. It says it's on, it is on YouTube. I don't know where we watched. I thought we watched it on Netflix.
It says MTV is where it started.
Yeah.
So did I mention that face-to-face real life meetings with real people help to avoid some of these kind of problems?
For
You know,
sure.
and you haven't heard this recommended for years because frankly, it doesn't happen. But it's like before you share any confidential information about yourself, make sure it's a real person that you're dealing with and that at least most of what they're telling you is in fact real.
Exactly. And that's always great advice. And I kind of like the way we're going with these video episodes. Just kind of randomly chatting. I've learned a lot about both you, Judy and Roger. I've learned that Roger has no arm and he plays video games at night.
And that really makes it my video game really
Yeah.
so yeah.
You must be really, really good to not.
I'll tell you, yeah.
But yeah, I think we should continue this. And like Roger said, we will have the links to everything that we chatted about on the resource page that you see on your screen right now. And at the end of this video, contact information in regards to how to reach out to Roger, Judy, or I and ask questions in regards to integration of technology. So again, thank you for joining us, and hopefully we will continue to have these invigorating topics and chats for the next episode. So thank you for joining us.
Bye.